Hey everyone, welcome back to AFC Game by Game. I hope you're doing really well. Today, I thought I'd take a quick look at some of Arsenal's rumoured transfer targets throughout the course of the summer. As you know, as an Arsenal fan, going into the summer is a tedious time, and we really do seem to have been hit quite badly by that Europa League final defeat to Chelsea last month, losing that game by 4-1. I don't even know why I'm even bothering reliving that. I don't want to do that. It was a horrible night, a horrible evening, and it has massively impacted what could have been an exciting summer for Arsenal, and I still think it can be. Let's not really overreact. We're in a great position still. We're a club that's got a lot of allure, but as well we are a club that are financially restricted. I think we're all very well aware of that. We've been reported to have only had £45 million available to us in terms of budget, which it's up to you if you believe it or not. Personally, I don't believe that for a second. We're a massive club. We should have loads of commercial revenue coming in, and we all know, I think we've all had it broken down to us in the past couple of weeks, that transfers are staggered. They can be paid over the course of a couple of years, so that 45 million could actually go some way to securing quite a lot of players throughout this summer transfer window. Of course, the players next week go on pre-season tour, so getting these deals over the line is essential. We do want to bed any potential new signings into the squad as soon as possible. And I'm just going to reel off a couple of the potential signings that we could be seeing coming to the club in the next couple of weeks or months, because this could be a really long and drawn-out process. The first one, and I think one of the most exciting ones and one of the most probable to happen, is Kieran Tierney. I say he's one of the more probable to happen, but for some reason I've got this really horrible lurking sense of dread that we're not going to be able to get this one over the line. His agent has come out and said that if we are able to stump up the cash, then he will be allowed to leave by Celtic. We do know that Celtic fans definitely want him to stay, and why wouldn't they? Of course, he's one of their best left backs. He is their best left back, and if he does stay, they've got a great chance of getting their 10th Scottish title in a row. For Tierney, I think if he wants to progress his career, with all respect to the Scottish League, he needs to be moving out of that league as soon as possible. He is still very young, only 22 years old, but we're in a situation where if we do want to play a flat back four, we do need a proper left back. I do like Kolasinac, and I think at times he was fantastic last season, and to have him and Tierney as our left back options would be great, but I do think Kolasinac is more powerful, and his advantage is going forward. Defending has been questionable at times. He had an abysmal game to Wolves at home last season. That's the one that really sticks out in my mind. He had some really tough games last season, and it did leave me wondering whether we can really rely on this guy, and I just don't think we can honestly rely on him over the course of a season. Tierney would be a real great option to our squad. Of course, he would cost £25 million, and that would be a significant hit to our transfer budget, but I do think it's something that should be affordable. If we could get him for a little bit less than that, potentially throw in a player plus 20 million. This is a deal that I think is going to be negotiated for the next couple of weeks at least. Napoli are in the race for him as well, and if they stump up the cash, then Celtic could very well likely sell to them. But of course, the option is up to Tierney if we go in with a good bid as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, but he's a player that I'd definitely love to see come into the squad. What we really do need though is a centre-back option, and the player that's been on everyone's lips recently is Saliba. I haven't really seen a couple of other names mentioned. I believe there's Izzo in Serie A, but that's not really been too strongly linked. The one that is definitely being talked about the most is Saliba. Honestly, don't know a lot about him. I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think a lot of other Arsenal fans did before his name was mentioned to the club. He is a player that would excite me. 18 years old, coming to Arsenal. It's definitely a good prospect. But he's made 16 appearances for Saint Etienne in Liga. Is he a player that's ready to slot in as a first choice centre back at Arsenal Football Club in the Premier League? No. To be brutally honest, he's not. There's a massive responsibility at centre half, especially in the Premier League, and I just don't think that we can be relying on an 18-year-old who's made 16 appearances in a lesser league to come into the Premier League and do a job, especially when we've waited so long on players like Callum Chambers, Rob Holding, who are now in their early 20s, and we're still raising question marks over someone like Callum Chambers. So it would be a massive gamble. It would be an expensive gamble as well at 30 million euros, but as well, with him potentially being loaned back to Saint Etienne, he wouldn't really help us in the area that we need so desperately right now. We need someone to come in and be able to do a job. Our centre-back options as it stands are Rob Holding, Socrates, Mustafi, Koscielny, and we were talking before about Koscielny potentially leaving the club, and I still think that should be on the cards. He's 33 now, coming up to 34 I believe. I don't think we can be relying on this guy for too much longer. We saw towards the end of last season excuse me, that we can't be overly dependent on him. Socrates, I think, has been a good stopgap player, but we do need an upgrade. Mustafi, I think a lot of Arsenal fans are of the opinion that he should be moving on from the club. Mavropanos was unconvincing in the games that he played last season. Sorry to be harsh, but I do think he's an up-and-coming prospect, but he's not ready just yet. Rob Holding, at 23 years old, is our most exciting centre-back option, and that's worrying. That is really worrying for me. I think he was fantastic last season, but to say he's our most prolific and most exciting centre-half for Arsenal Football Club is not a good position to be in heading into next season, so we definitely need to upgrade in that department. I think we're all aware of that. Moving forward, and this is probably where things have gotten a lot more exciting, I'll get the boring one out of the way first. Lucas Vasquez of Real Madrid won plenty of Champions Leagues with the club, and is he a player that I'd want at Arsenal? I'm not too sure. From what I've seen of him, he strikes me as a bit of a bit part player, and if we'd be spending upwards of 30 million on him, I'm just not sure that would be the correct investment for us, especially when we're being linked to Wilfried Zaha, who would cost us quite a bit of money, but he is Premier League proven. I'd be very excited if we did sign him, to be honest, and the bid of 40 million quid that people have laughed at, that they've ridiculed, I can't really blame Arsenal for putting in, to be honest. I think it's a sensible thing to do. There's no reason to go with a massive bid of £80 million because, to be frank, I know that's the asking price Crystal Palace want, but I don't know any club that's going to pay that for Wilfried Zaha. I think Manchester City don't need him. Can't see Tottenham going in for him. They've already bought on Dembele. So, I mean, realistically, Arsenal is one of the most likely candidates for Zaha to go to. And I don't think that bid is overly ludicrous because if Zaha wants out, if we've put money on the table and they don't get another bid in, they're not going to want to keep an unhappy player. We've got money, they might not get a better offer. In fact, I'm pretty certain they won't just yet, unless it's from us as well. So I think that's a sensible thing from Arsenal to do. And if we could get that deal over the line, I don't think he's the elite level of winger that we'd need at Arsenal. But I do think he'd be a fantastic addition, given the situation that the club is in, given his Premier League worth, his value, his experience in the Premier League, given how well he did with Crystal Palace last season. He brings something that we don't have at the minute. He is that upgrade on someone like Alex Iwobi, and you'd hope that someone like Iwobi would learn from him. I wasn't overly convinced by Mkhitaryan last season being played out of position. The same for Iwobi. They're not really natural wingers. Zaha is that. If we could potentially bring in someone else and have Reece Nelson playing, I'm not sure. A lot of people are saying that he's a guaranteed starter next season. I'm still a bit reserved on that opinion. I do like Nelson, but I mean, I'd like to see him play a couple of games in pre-season and have a couple of games at the start of the new campaign before I really make a judgment on whether he should be starting week in, week out. I'm really excited by him, but whether he's a guaranteed starter, still 19 years old, it's, you know, a bit hit and miss on that one. We'll have to see how things go. But it would be exciting if Nelson could come good, which, you know, I mean, he's already well on the path to doing that. Have Zaha on the other wing, have Ozil through the middle, with Aubameyang up top. I mean, it's very exciting, and I do think you'd see a much more improved Mesut Ozil with proper runners alongside him. Zaha, Aubameyang, Nelson definitely would offer that. They're natural wingers, natural wide men with a big pacey forward ahead of them. It would be extremely exciting, and then a great option like Lacazette as well. And I think a lot of people are of the opinion that if we do go to playing a 4-2-3-1, that it would be a bit of a turf war between Aubameyang and Lacazette. I can definitely see that opinion, but also I think those two players would be well aware that some might start one game, some might start another game, and they might chop and change throughout matches. If they start on the bench, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to feature in that game. So I do think it's great to have those two options. But again, if we did get a massive bid of like 70 million plus for Lacazette, for example, I think the club would be very inclined to take that. And as a fan, I'd hate to see one of them go, but you've got to be realistic. If it meant sacrificing one of them to get, you know, a couple of wingers and a centre half in, I think that's what we really need to look at in the long term. I hope it doesn't happen. I do hope we're able to keep both of them and still invest in the squad properly, but it's one that would definitely turn the heads of the Arsenal board. So, I mean, we've already had our first pre-season game, sort of, the under-23s playing Steve Bowles' first game, 3-3 draw at Boreham Woods, and then, of course, the first team go away on pre-season next week. So, exciting times for sure, and we've already secured the signature of Martinelli, 18-year-old Brazilian. Don't know anything about him, I'll be honest. I don't know a lot about him, but I'm excited by him. I do think it's good that the club are investing in young, up-and-coming talent that can potentially play a part in the season. Players like Guendouzi, Martinelli, I think, is very good that the club are bringing these players in. So I'm excited, and I'll be even more excited if we can potentially get Zaha and Tierney over the line and then bring in a left-back. Because I do think we do have the foundations of a very good team. It's just a case of really bolstering that squad with players that we really need. Wide men, definitely an area where we need to bring players in. Malcolm of Barcelona is a potential option as well. But I think I'm just so desperate for us to get a proper wide man in. There's going to be so many names, so many options being floated about in the next couple of weeks. and someone like Zaha, it could be a process that could go down to deadline day. You're going to see a lot of bids, a lot of rumours coming out in the next couple of weeks. But the purpose of this video was to pretty much just give my opinion on the names that we're being linked to, and potential departures from the club as well. I mean, I think you all know the names that we need to get rid of, and there has to be a big clear out Arsenal this summer. But it'd be good to see where these players are throughout pre-season. You know, there might be a few surprises that Emery might want to keep in the squad, and a few surprises that he may want to get rid of as well. So pre-season should be exciting. Very much looking forward to it. As I say, leave your thoughts in the comments box below as always. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and I'll try to get a few more of these done throughout the course of the summer window. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later.